Hey everybody, how's it going? I have gotten a couple of questions about the pass or no pass option for grading this semester, so I thought maybe it would be helpful if I explain my understanding of how this works. The pass or no pass option just means that a student's grade is based on whether or not you get a C minus or better, but otherwise the grades are calculated like normal. You only have until May 1st, the last day of classes, to decide whether or not to make the switch to the pass or no pass option, but that does not mean that your grade, if you take that option, is only based on assignments up to that point. It still means that if your class has a final exam, you're expected to take the final exam. And the weight associated with it is just like it normally would be. So for IE 343, that would mean that the final exam still counts 25% of the grade. The exam for this class is mandatory, so if you take the pass, no pass option, but then decide not to take the final exam, that means you're probably not going to pass unless you already had a pretty high A, in which case, why not go for the A? To try and give you an idea of how you're doing in the class, I've posted a weighted average on Blackboard that accounts for everything except for the final case study assignment and the final exam. The way that I did that was I took the final homework average, the final clicker score, as well as the midterm exam. Then I took your grade for the first case study assignment and assumed that you would get the same grade on the second case study assignment. And then I omitted the final exam from consideration at all and just kind of scaled up the weights accordingly. So that field in Blackboard that you can see now as a weighted score means that I'm implicitly assuming you get the same grade on the final exam as the average for everything else that you've gotten so far. That average could be a little bit misleading because of the case study assignment. What I had announced previously is that the case study assignment counts for 20% of the final grade, and that's split between the first phase and the second phase. However, I said that I would take 12% of your final grade as whichever phase on the case study you do better on, and 8% for whichever phase your group gets a lower score on. And so if you do better on this second phase of the case study, then that improved grade would count for 12% out of the 20%, and your original grade would count as 8%. But if it's difficult for you to communicate with your group and you end up with a lower grade, that's the one that would count for 8%. The original score would count for 12. So keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what that weighted average means. The weighted score on Blackboard also does not include the extra credit associated with the group problems in class or the extra credit that you might get in future on the study guide assignment if you signed up for that. The way that you would account for that is just to add that as an extra percentage score to the weighted average that's already calculated. So if you have, say, 1 point on the group problems, that would mean add 1% to your score for the semester. If you have any questions about how that weighted average was calculated, what it means, or what it implies about what you need to get on the final exam to get the grade that you want, let me know. Be happy to talk about it, but I just thought it would be helpful to give a little bit of additional context for those of you who are thinking about taking that pass or no pass option.